you and the governor, y'all aren't the best of buds. And he says you're one of the guys hindering everything they're doing. How did things shake out when you get back home? What are you most going to have to explain?
Um, well, I don't think I'm going to have to defend anything that I did. What we essentially had, what happened yesterday was one of those historic sessions for the history books, which we seem to be having on a regular basis now. There was no reason we couldn't have wrapped up by 2 o'clock yesterday. But what you had was a significant amount of gamesmanship coming from the governor, and you have to back up. He absolutely demanded. His goal for this session was middle-class income tax increases. And when we told him no, he came down and said, then there is no way we're going to fund TOPS, and we're going to cut higher education and basically everything else that Republicans care about. And what happened last night, and the reason we were there till almost midnight, is because he came down and met with the Democrats about 10 o'clock last night and ordered them to kill the supplemental budget bill, which would have been another $70 million. The supplemental budget bill was what we passed last night. It was an additional $70 million to TOPS. It was an additional money to higher education, to LSU Medical School, and things along that line, as a punishment for refusing to pass the middle-class income tax increases. He went to the Democrat delegation meeting and ordered them to kill the supplemental budget bill.
And they did that?
No, well, they tried. Every Democrat voted against it. 2 Republicans voted against it, but we were able to pass it because thankfully we do have a majority. I heard part of his interview y'all played where he was complaining about the front-end loading of TOPS. That is so disingenuous. What he's saying, what we essentially did, and those are the things that he objected, was to fund TOPS at 100% in the fall and leave it about 40% in the spring in the hopes that money, quote, materializes that we can fund it with. But what you got to keep in mind, and I heard what you said about money falling out of the tree, everybody involved in the process expects more money to come in because the REC right now is recognizing oil at $30 a barrel. Where oil is right now, that's worth about $200 million to the state because oil is well above $30 a barrel. Mm-hmm. Plus, there's several tax increases that were passed. We don't know how much money they're going to raise, so none of the money was recognized. But we all agree that they're going to bring in some money. So everybody involved in the process, from the governor on down, acknowledges that there will be more money by this fall than we are, quote, recognizing right now. And until it's recognized, it can't be spent.
What's going to happen, Alan, what's going to happen with University Health and the LSU Med School? A lot of people say that funding plan for the med school sounds good, but it may not work.
Well, the problem I have with it is the first I heard of this new funding plan was yesterday morning. And when we passed the supplemental bill out of the House, it had $26 million for LSU Medical School in Shreveport. The final version we passed last night had $4 million. And we had to fight tooth and nail just to get the $4 million. They were trying to cut it completely. And I don't understand because, again, the governor made very clear campaign promises to fund the medical school, that he was going to fund TOPS, and he's frankly declared all-out war on things that people care about as a threat tactic to get us to raise more taxes. And when we told him, no, we are not going to raise middle-class income taxes, they frankly declared war on TOPS and all that. And everybody agrees that the money is going to come in over and above what has been recognized, sufficient to fund TOPS.
Alan?
He just didn't want to do it because he wanted a stick. He didn't want us to be able to go home and say we did everything we could to fund TOPS. What he won't acknowledge is that the budget right now is $2.5 billion more than last year. Last year when TOPS was fully funded, when higher education and university health and everything else was fully funded, we have $2.5 billion with the B dollars more this year than last year, yet they can't find the money to fund it. And there's only one reason why it's not funded, and that's because you have a governor who's playing tricks with the lives of sick people and with kids' college futures.
Alan,
are we
beginning to see the beginning of the less powerful governor and the legislature stepping up to its rightful place under the Constitution?
Absolutely, and not the whole legislature, just the House. The Senate completely does his bidding. He completely controls the Senate, but it's the House of Representatives is the only thing stepping up as an independent body, telling the governor no. And that's what you're seeing. It's something that's never really happened before, but we were the first House to tell the governor he wasn't going to be able to pick his own Speaker of the House. And when he's come to us and made his demands, we've repeatedly said those are not in the best interest of the people of the state of Louisiana, and we're not going to do it. I don't care if you are the governor.
How much cutting did you guys actually do? You and I, Alan, we know there's way more that we can cut in that state budget. Did we do enough of that?
Absolutely not. There was zero attempt to cut any waste or any fat out of anything. Every time there was not zero attempt. We tried. We had two bills in the House that were going to try to cut some of this wasteful spending, and we got them out of the House, and they died one a very quiet death, one a very loud death in the Senate. And they came back, I think ultimately cut like $4 million or something like that. The problem you have is that you have a DHH, Department of Health and Hospitals. Their budget is $12 billion. Out of $26 billion that we spent, $12 billion is DHH, almost half of the state budget. They increased by 25% from last year. If you just increase it by 22% over last year, you have enough to fully fund higher education, K through 12, TOPS, medical schools, hospitals, and everything else on the list. And that's giving them a 22% increase over last year. But when we suggested doing that, that was unconscionable. And the bottom line is that's completely reasonable. The only reason it wasn't done is because the governor wanted to be able to hang TOPS and higher ed and all these other things that Republicans care about. He wanted them on the chopping block. And it's completely disingenuous.
Alan,